Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for being here. For those here for the first time, I'm Mark Mezadourian. I'm an intuitive specializing in connecting with angels and guides. And I've had a long relationship with New Renaissance Bookshop, and Melanie is a manager there at New Renaissance, representing the store, and happy to be here. And tonight, we'll focus on presence and safety. And let's say, 20 minutes or so of we'll do a guided experience working with angels. And part of that will focus on being present. And we'll do an exercise that is based on the power of now by Eckhart Tolle. And just to practice being present. I recognize in spirituality that presence becomes a buzzword a bit. Like, oh, just be present. And if your brain is on fire, you can't be present. And if you're triggered, it's hard to be present. So we'll just practice that muscle and see what's here. And recognizing as we do these things that we are working muscles and gaining muscle, that we are practicing giving our body dexterity and our consciousness dexterity. And ultimately, what we're doing is shortening the distance between, let's say, being triggered and being coherent and being in cohesion, and just letting that collapse a bit. So it's less and less and less time and less stress between one state of being and another. So we'll practice that right now. And if we could think of this as, like being at the gym, we're going to, work our intuitive muscles, but also work muscles and pathways in our nervous system and in our brain to remind ourselves what peace is like. Okay, good. I'm glad that we're all here and that we get to work. So we'll just gently breathe in. And thank you, Mother, Father, God. Thank you, Archangels and Ascended Masters, for the perfect grace, perfect clarity, and perfect peace that is here for each of us and all of us right now. Thank you to the angelic realm, the elemental realm, our ancestors, spirit guides, animal guides, and guardian angels. We celebrate tremendous peace and wonderful joy being here right now. And we're so grateful for this beautiful world. We're so grateful for the presence of Archangel Michael, the angel of clearing and protection, and all the other angels, goddesses, and guides that are with us, ones that we know, and perhaps ones that we don't. We allow right now for familiarity to matter enormously. We recognize the presence of guides that we love. And we also allow a wonderful sense of freshness and newness being here right now. So we'll just gently breathe in. And we'll just work with technique for a few moments. If we could just gently breathe in. And everyone's muted. If we could just say your own name out loud. I am Mark. I'm not anybody else. I am Mark. I welcome the highest good into my life right now. Thank you, angels, goddesses, and guides, for helping me in all ways right now. Thank you, angels, goddesses, and guides, for helping me in all ways right now. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for clearing my energy and my environment. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for individualizing my energy. And if we could just breathe in, and let's let Archangel Michael do all the work. So we'll just gently breathe into that. And we'll let Michael do everything, letting him individualize your energy, releasing any attachment or enmeshment between you and everyone whom you know, including people who are passed away. And this is not banishing people, it's very simply individualizing your energy. So if we could just gently breathe into all that. And we'll just notice all of this good and all of this goodness and all of this peace and all of this joy. Wonderful. So we'll just gently breathe in. Wonderful. And let's very simply say out loud, thank you, Archangel Michael, for surrounding me with 1,000 feet of unconditional love. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for surrounding me with 1,000 feet of unconditional love. So if we could just gently breathe into that, and we'll let Archangel Michael curate from your heart chakra the fountain, the well of unconditional love, this endless well. And just noticing every single cell in your body being infused with unconditional love. Noticing every system infused with unconditional love. And with Archangel Michael's help, just noticing 1,000 feet of unconditional love going in front of you, and 1,000 feet being a big distance. 1,000 feet of unconditional love behind you. 1,000 feet of unconditional love to your left. 1,000 feet of unconditional love to your right. And 1,000 feet of unconditional love above you and beneath you. So we'll just gently breathe into all that. And we'll just gently breathe in. And if we could just notice, it might be super subtle, like a flash or a whisper, or it might be more overt. We won't compare, we'll just notice what's true for you. Just noticing how that feels. You being in the epicenter of 1,000 feet of unconditional love. And with that intention, with that, speaking that into being, if we could just notice rather than energy coming toward you, energy is moving away from you. That there is a held space that you were in the center of. If we could just gently breathe into that. Wonderful. And right where you are and right how you are, we'll just notice the you who is doing this is your conscious adult self. We'll notice every single part of you, adolescent parts, child parts, paying attention. We'll notice the you who is engaged fully is your conscious adult self. And as your conscious adult self, we could just take a moment just to notice all the things, all the matter in the space that you're physically in right now. So noticing your device, noticing the piece of furniture that you're sitting on or lying down on, noticing the walls and the ceiling and windows and books and cats and clothes. If we could just gently breathe in and just notice all the physical matter, we'll just notice all that. And if we could just gently breathe in, and if we could then notice the space between you and the matter, the space between you and your device, the space between you and the walls, the space between you and the ceiling. And if we could just breathe in and notice that space. And from our intention and connection with Archangel Michael, we know that we are surrounded by 1,000 feet of unconditional love. So we'll just gently breathe in and notice all those spaces being filled with unconditional love. And we'll just gently breathe into that. And if we could just, with curiosity, we'll just ask a question out loud. And the question is, I wonder what's going to happen next. So why don't we just say that out loud? I wonder what's going to happen next. And if we could just breathe in and just notice the presence that you experience, the held space that you're in, and the unconditional love. Let's ask this question again. I wonder what's going to happen next. Wonderful. So we'll just notice the 1,000 feet of unconditional love. We'll notice the matter that surrounds you, the furniture that you're on and connected with, your shoes. And we'll also notice unconditional love and space. And we'll also notice presence, your presence in this moment, being alive and vital in this moment, being connected with peace in this moment. So we'll just gently breathe into all that. Wonderful. Good work, everyone. If we could just adding to this moment. So let's notice, as we notice matter and space, space and matter, and notice the infusion of unconditional love. And whether we see him, feel him, sense him, or know that he's there or hear him, let's very simply notice Archangel Michael sharing the space that you're in with you, which might be very subtle. He might be a color, he might be an energy, you might hear him, you might know that he's there. And we'll just breathe in. Once again, might be super subtle, like I feel Archangel Michael behind me to the right a bit. And if we could just breathe in, and perhaps in using the way that you are sensing him, like I sense Michael there, let's say out loud, Michael, I sense you there, or Michael, I see you there, or Michael, I feel you there. We'll just breathe in, we'll say that out loud. And in building a relationship with Archangel Michael, we'll use spiritual manners. We'll simply say out loud, thank you, Michael, for being with me. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for protecting me always. I choose to be safe always. Thank you for helping me to be safe always. So we'll just gently breathe into all that. And if we could take a moment to notice what you notice. Just noticing what's different. And if you choose to, everything we're doing, of course, is by choice, to perhaps move your body a little bit in motion. This will be different for everyone. I feel the atmosphere being different when we do something like this. Like the air feels thicker to me. But perhaps we could just notice with your breath, with your sight, with your senses, with hearing, with movement, whatever feels right to you. Just noticing you being present in unconditional love. And we'll just gently breathe in. And if we could notice, says Archangel Michael, the information that we are giving our bodies, the information that it's okay to be present. It's okay to call upon angels. It's okay to be surrounded with unconditional love. It's okay to be present. Wonderful. So we'll just gently breathe in. And if we could just maintain this awareness as your conscious adult self, and if we could use perhaps 10%, 20%, or more of your adult self, and if we could do, as we've done in previous weeks, just a checklist of your physical environment. So those two doors are locked, the window's locked. There's a door. My friend and Rosie the dog are downstairs. If someone came up, the dog would bark. The neighbors have gone inside. If we could just ascertain your physical environment right now. And like we're speaking to the youngest part of you, we're just going to check that you're safe. And then let's just say out loud, I am safe right now. I'm not missing a thing right now. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for being with me right now. Thank you, angels, goddesses, and guides, for being with me right now. I am present in peace right now. Wonderful. So let's just breathe into that. And indeed, if we could just notice once again all the matter and the space between you and all the matter, the space between you and your device, the space between you and the farthest wall. The space between you and as far as you could see, the tree across the street, or the hill, or the road. So we'll just gently breathe into all that. And let's just say out loud, I am safe and alive right now. I turn down the volume of hypervigilance. It is safe for me to be safe. And as your adult self speaking to your adult self, I'm not missing a thing. And as your adult self speaking to your younger selves, I'm not missing a thing. Everything is going to be okay. Wonderful. So we'll just gently breathe into that. And let's notice what it's like to just maintain this awareness, to maintain this space as we continue our group tonight, like a held space. Archangel Michael's not going anywhere. He could be with all of us at once and is with all of us at once without any division or diluting or dissolving. We could just breathe in. And we'll just notice this all maintains. And as our adult selves, we're going to delve into parts of the book. So we'll just gently breathe in. And with gratitude and peace, we'll let all of this maintain. Wonderful. So thank you, Archangel Michael, for holding space for us. Thank you to the angelic realm, the elemental realm, our ancestors, spirit guides, animal guides, and guardian angels. We celebrate peace and harmony and presence. We allow all of this to feel good and for us to know that we are safe. And so it is. Okay. Wonderful. Good work, everyone. There's a potency to that, to just recognize what is right around you all the time and just noticing, yeah, there's things that we recognize, there's things that are physical, and the space in between, and we get to have an influence and a choice on the space in between. Okay, I hope that has felt good for everyone. Melanie, how's that for you?
That was wonderful.
Good. What do you notice in that?
I noticed my body calming down for sure. And I found myself noticing details of the room that even just the chair I'm sitting on, I'm like, I've never really just thought about this chair and what it looks like and how it feels to sit in it. I just sit down in it. So it was nice to just be here right now.
That's great. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Good deal. Wonderful. So Melanie has found quotes from the book and a section from the book. Yeah.
Yeah, so just jumping right in, I know in the last session we talked a bit about um, the quote, dissociation is the essence of trauma. And I don't know how much we really talked about what dissociation is in terms of um, your sensory body and what that actually means. And so there's a couple different kinds of it. And in one way, it's kind of the overwhelm of sensory input. So in the book, Vander Kolk brings up two people, a couple who were in a traumatic car accident, I think an 80 something car pile up together. And afterwards, they both experienced post traumatic stress symptoms, but in very different ways. And both were considered dissociative because that is the essence of trauma. On the one hand, you had Stan, and he was prone to flashbacks and more of that active reliving. And that dissociation was more in terms of the memory and the sensory input that his body kind of wasn't able to make sense of. The part of our brains that does take in sensory input and make sense of those things for us kind of shuts down in that. So you just get these fragmented memories. And then on the other hand, Uta, I think is that how you say her
Mm-hmm.
name?
Mm-hmm.
Uta, she completely shuts down and she goes numb. And we call this depersonalization, which is another form of dissociation in which you kind of just block out everything and you are completely out of touch with your bodily sensations and your memories, and you kind of are just frozen. It's kind of the freeze in the fight, flight, or freeze. So I just wanted to discuss those for a bit. And I don't know, Mark, if you had anything you wanted to speak to about that. Um, or any other thoughts, but I just thought that was an interesting dynamic of the different kinds of dissociation and how we can get to a place of safety from dissociation, whether that's a numbness or a depersonalization or more of a just fragmented active reliving of traumas.
The one thing I would say is I think we all, this is not like a one way or the other for all of us. I think we have, I've had both responses, you know, and just seeing where um, there's just not one way that trauma goes. And also just seeing the solutions for it. That these are natural responses that we have to get through, to make it through, to survive. and be that a shutting down or a sense of reliving things, trying to make it better. All those are survival mechanisms. And we're just going to add to it. And this is where, just to be super clear, the presence work we just did is to help us choose to be calm and centered, in which helps the moments when we didn't have a choice to be calm and centered. So we're kind of having a healing experience and a corrective experience. Yeah.
Yes, and I think van der Kolk does mention also that presence, especially in terms of getting back into your body, and your physical awareness, is one of the most crucial aspects of healing trauma, whether it's and any form of dissociation having to do with it. That's one of the most helpful things. So,
Yeah.
um,
I think
and
just a real quick point, if I can, Melanie, which is, where presence really helps. It also is a spiritual buzzword. If we work beyond the buzzword into, oh, just be present, which is seeing how that works for each of us individually. This is where I think breath um, comes into play in a big way of just doing what we can. It's individual for each of us to allow us to be present in this moment, to recognize what is happening, and that we instinctively will seek safety. And it's okay for us to be part of our own safety. It's also okay for the people to be part of our own safety.
true. So the next quote that I have comes from page 73, and it is, "We must most of all help people to live fully and securely in the present. In order to do that, we need to help bring those brain structures that deserted them when they were overwhelmed by trauma back. Desensitization may make you less reactive, but if you cannot feel satisfaction in ordinary everyday things like taking a walk, cooking a meal, or playing with your kids, life will pass you by." So this passage once again is pointing to presence as being directly related to feelings of security and safety, even going so far as to say that it is what allows us to feel satisfaction in our lives. So, what other exercises can help us to refocus the brain and body on what's happening in the moment?
This centers on ritual, I think, of seeing where a simple ritual, lighting a candle or saying a prayer or blessing something before you drink it, simple rituals, but also and any ritual involving the earth itself, be that touching a tree, be that smelling a flower, be that looking at a bird, but the sensory things that involve touch, and even our own touch of ourselves, or holding someone's hand, or petting the cat, or petting the dog, or letting the dog lick you. All these things that have even an inkling of comfort are helping to regulate our nervous system and come back to a sense of cohesion once again. And so this is where it's completely individual of what works. And this might be true for a lot of people. Music, boy, that's a quick way to change a mood, you know. And then adding to that, singing or dancing or swaying or just the rhythm, especially music that you love. But this is, I think, also where the power of music. I'm thinking specifically of David Bowie, who sang to the misfits and sang to people who've had a hard time, of like recognizing that you are understood, that the artists that we love understand us. There's a reason why we have a relationship with them already. And also just taking that one step further, which is why musicians make fantastic spirit guides, is that they're mass communicators. So David Bowie, Ella Fitzgerald, Kurt Cobain, people who have transitioned, and we don't attach to what happened to them in physical life, but recognizing their role as a guide who could help us out. And all of them centering on wanting us to be happier. And just trusting in that our affinities, as a teenager especially, I loved the Doors, and as a spiritual person, Jim Morrison comes forward as a guide, and he's not so much like the rock star but the poet, and he's a really really great guide. you know he brought up this whole thing years ago about, we need new reference points. Our old reference points are kind of tired and don't totally work. So what are the new reference points? Which is, let's be present. Let's let's call the angels in, and let's let good things happen.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
So the next quote that I have comes from page 81. That. And it is kind of near the top of that section, safety and reciprocity. And it says, being able to feel safe with other people is probably the single most important aspect of mental health. Safe connections are fundamental to meaningful and satisfying lives. The critical issue is reciprocity, being truly heard and seen by the people around us, feeling that we are held in someone else's mind and heart. So, we were just kind of talking about this a little bit, but how can we cultivate this reciprocity in our relationships and even just in our day-to-day interactions with people who we're maybe just buying something from them at the store or we're walking past them? How do we cultivate that kind of reciprocity, which ultimately leads to all of us and ourselves feeling safe?
Um, in many ways, we do things like we're doing right now. This is the goal, just to speak to everyone, that Melanie and I have, was to create a space where everyone could feel safe. And there's no requirement placed on anyone. So you just come here and receive and know that you matter and that you're considered, and this is for you. This is for us. This is for everyone. And the folks who are watching, on YouTube later. There's also a space in this to utilize intention of, what kind of experience you want to have. I was sharing yesterday, I had to go to the DMV here in Ashland, Oregon, which is not a big town by any means, but I was expecting to go to the DMV and just gather information. I walk in, there's no one else there, which is the first time in the history of the DMV that's ever happened, I think. And it's just saying, it was like a delight of, like, I pray in the morning, like, thank you for this wonderful day. It's just saying, like, oh wow, that's I had a nice conversation with the DMV people. But just letting intention be part of it. It also is recognizing how to depersonalize situations. And we are used to, if we talk about the commonality of every single person here, which is very sensitive people who've had stuff happen in our lives, to speak very plainly, that has made us, very aware to other people, very aware about other people, and to, use elements of the four agreements to, to not take things personally. So if there's someone aggravated at the grocery store, we can notice, oh, okay, they're aggravated, and to perhaps interrupt personalizing that, or what action you could take. The action we could take is to perhaps remove ourselves if that feels right, but to recognize that that's not personal, and to recognize that when there's something going wrong, the part of us that is triggered by that, and then to soothe that part. And just noticing that, in my experience, that changes over time. In the past, I have done this, like it would intervene with things like that. Now I'm more apt to pray or to call on the angels rather than Mark intervening. So there's lots of different solutions to that. There's not one, there's no any of this right or wrong. But it's just seeing what brings us into a greater sense of awareness, and where indeed we could utilize our spiritual power. Thank you, angels, for helping the grocery store right now.
And I think kind of with what you were saying before, I mean, even with music and musicians specifically, something to cultivate reciprocity is getting involved in something where you're rhythmically involved with other people and
Hmm.
kind of reestablishing those connections. I think Vanderkolk mentions in the book, even something as simple as throwing a ball back and forth
Oh
with
yeah.
someone while you're talking, or
Mhm.
dancing with people or joining a band or just playing music with other people, anything like that where you're having to kind of synchronize or coordinate with other people, our bodies are programmed to do that, and working on doing that and cultivating that with other people can help you be more in touch with your body and with other people and make more intimate connections with them. So,
Yeah, for sure. I think it's worth mentioning one of the things I love about New Renaissance Bookshop is before the store opens, the staff gathers, the staff that's there that day in a circle with intention. The details are mentioned, but there's an intention placed. There's a ritual performed, and it just seeing like that's a beautiful thing, you know. And however way we do that, and be that praying alone in your bedroom with gratitude, you are not alone when you're in your prayers, that you are heard. And whether we call in the angels, the goddesses and guides or not, that they're listening, and that you're part of something bigger. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Melanie. It's a great point.
of course.
Mhm.
All right, so the next quote that I have is from page 97, and it's at the very, very bottom, if you have your book, that very last sentence. So, agency starts with what scientists call interoception, our awareness of our subtle sensory body-based feelings. The greater the awareness, the greater our potential to control our lives. Mark, do you have any thoughts on that quote?
Well, couple. One, the quote at the top there of that chapter: "Agency is the technical term for the feeling of being in charge of your life," and this is one of the major things that is present right now in the world, which is who's in charge. And coming to the space spiritually that we are in charge of our own lives and we have a whole lot of help, and we're not the only ones doing it. So, what we're witnessing in this time is the misuse and abuse of authority. And then we come to a space of recognizing this is collapsing right now. And what would the most beneficial, the most positive aspect of authority be? And we get to embody that now, which is recognizing that we have a say in our own lives, that we get to participate in our own lives. And that may sound slight or obvious, but we have agency in our own lives, that we could pray, we could intend, we could act, we could change, we can involve. And all that's important to recognize that we're, a group of people among millions and millions who want a peaceful planet. And just seeing where it's okay for us to have that positive influence. And as we work spiritually, individually or in groups, and just trusting that everything is amplified in a group, that it's okay for us to focus on what we want to have happen. So it's recognizing when there's trauma in place that there is an innate disempowerment that has happened, and perhaps a complete absence of having a voice. So this gets into worth. And one thing that perhaps is a commonality is in society, in families, wherever, that we are told that we don't have worth, or that our worth has to be negotiated for. If you do this, if you act this way, if you wear this, then you're worthy of love. And getting into unconditional love, where you are, no matter how you are, where you are, what you wear, that you are loved. These are the corrections, and these are the things that are bringing us to more stability and more grace into our lives. And that it's okay for us to positively influence our lives. And further points, things the angels have said in the past: our happiness offends no one. It's safe for us to be safe. It's safe for us to change. It's safe for us to talk about what we want. And to recognize, as those things are spoken, where we perhaps have adopted a belief, perhaps long ago, that it's not okay to talk about what we want. It's not okay to think about things being different. But we're here right now, every single one of us, because we know that something different is possible. And we've experienced that difference. We've experienced that change and that evolution. So we do have agency, and it's in essence reclaiming that and trusting to our core that we use our power for good. It is an old idea, an old kind of spiritual, not threat, but kind of like one of the things that diminishes spirituality, which is the illusion of grandiosity. We're going to not use our power for good. We're going to use our power for good. And that includes everyone. And last thought, we get to practice this and regain these muscles like 1% at a time. Which is, it's okay for me to talk about what I want. It's okay for me to pray. It's okay for my life to change. Good thing to talk about, huh? Good question there. Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the next quote that I have comes from page 99.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Getting
and
close to 100.
close to 100. We're about
Mm-hmm.
halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
So the quote is about halfway down the page, and it's the price for ignoring or distorting the body's messages is being unable to detect what is truly dangerous or harmful for you, and, just as bad, what is safe or nourishing. Self-regulation depends on having a friendly relationship with your body. Care to expand?
Well, there's that. Um, there's this may not be exactly what he's saying, but if we could see, there's something about seeing pain as a messenger, and that we have any kind of pain or any kind of diagnosis, anything is happening, our body giving us feedback, that we get to listen to that, and that then makes our listening to the message of pain diminishes the reason why pain should be there in the first place. If we do that emotionally by listening to ourselves, to trust our instincts, and to recognize, we've spoken about this um, in previous weeks, but just we talked about it today. Adult self, adolescent self, child self. Who's responding to what? Like if there's a red flag about something, let's listen to the adult red flag. Let's pay attention to the adolescent red flag and the child red flag. Let's notice like who's upset about what, and trusting our instincts with that. But as we gain articulation in knowing which part of us is triggered by what circumstances create a reaction in us, that's valuable information. It's also recognizing of the value of knowing these things about ourselves, you know? So it's trusting that it's okay to have the toolbox ready and to use the toolbox. And like I'm not totally answering the question here.
There
There's
was no question.
okay, there's
The
an
quote.
element in that quote, the price for ignoring or distorting the body's messages is being unable to detect what is truly dangerous and harmful for you. Um, the spiritual solution to this is to have really strong intention and to notice where there is, in essence, like a disturbance in the force, where something doesn't feel right. We don't need to know what's not right. Years ago, with my family in Palo Alto, my sister's here. The family, we were to go downtown to downtown Palo Alto for dinner, and we were in one car, and it started to not work well, and that was odd. So we went back at the second car. We were driving the same road. The second car started to not work well, and it became apparent. Let's not go downtown. Don't know why. Don't know, what happened, but we didn't go downtown. You know, and rather than try to force it, and that's just a subtle example of when the universe gives us feedback of like this way, not this way. My famous story with intuition is I was driving one day in Los Angeles, very agitating. Angel said turn left, I turned right and got a ticket. Who was the flaw in the system? It's like it's okay to listen. And so just seeing then of our natural feedback mechanism is at play, and when part of us is agitated, to take heed to that and perhaps bring comfort to that, and also to recognize a space to reintegrate certain places and dynamics into our lives. Okay.
And that's all that I have.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you, Melanie, for finding those quotes. Good. Page 99. Good deal. Wonderful. So let's just take in a breath. Thank you all for listening. And why don't we work the muscle of just coming back to presence here, okay? So we'll just gently breathe in. And let's indeed say our own names out loud. I am Mark. I am safe right now. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for clearing my energy. I know myself well, and I love myself enormously. I trust myself enormously. It is safe for me to be safe. It is safe for me to be present. So we'll just gently breathe into all that. And let's indeed, we'll just notice once again the matter, the device, the wall, the cat, the ceiling, the tree in the distance, the chair. And let's notice the space between you and all those things, the space between you and your clothes, the space between you and the chair that you're sitting in, or the bed you're lying on. The space. And if we could say, once again, thank you, Archangel Michael, for being with me right now. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for surrounding me with 1,000 feet of unconditional love. I am safe. We'll just gently breathe into that. And we'll notice once again, it's you, the adult, conscious adult. And as the conscious adult who is here, will say to the younger parts of you, I'll handle everything, adult. I want you to relax and to play and to have fun. I'll handle everything, adult. We'll just gently breathe in. And let's say out loud, thank you, Archangel Michael, for being with me always. Thank you, angels, goddesses, and guides, for helping everyone all the time. I celebrate peace, and I embrace peace. I ask for this or something better right now in all directions of time. And so it is. So we'll just gently breathe into that. We'll just say a closing prayer. Thank you, Mother, Father, God. Thank you, archangels and ascended masters, for the perfect grace, perfect clarity, and perfect peace that is here for each of us and all of us right now. Thank you to the angelic realm, the elemental realm, our ancestors, spirit guides, animal guides, and guardian angels. We celebrate life. We celebrate peace. We celebrate presence. and we celebrate safety, and we celebrate all the good that is here and the help that we have. We put forward a strong intention for healing and health in our lives, healing and health for everyone whom we know, and healing and health for the planet and for the world, including all trees and animals and plants and all people. And we ask for this or something better right now in all directions of time, and so it is. Okay, good work, everyone. Well done, everyone. Okay, appreciate you all being here. Melanie and I, we've really enjoyed this, and we've decided we're gonna do a part 2 to this in June, on Tuesdays in June. So we're gonna take a couple weeks off from this, but we'll do the other 75% of the book. You know, getting past page, we'll get into the hundreds and see what happens from there. So I want to acknowledge Melanie for being a great partner in this, and finding great quotes, and for helping out. And I do appreciate all of you being here, and for your presence, your focus, your dedication, and your healing, and that we get to heal together, which is important. And I also think this may sound very simple, but the fact that there's other people doing the same thing is really helpful to see, isn't it? That we're not alone, we're not the only ones. There's other people healing and who care about this and who want peace. And that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. In the few minutes that we have, does anyone want to share how they feel or their experience or anything?
No, I'm just thankful for you both being here, and I'm glad we're doing a part 2 because I was starting to feel like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen on Tuesday nights when I don't have the beautiful meditation and voice and teachings. I was growing to love my Tuesday nights and looking forward to something to do.
Good, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Let it be known, normally on Tuesdays at the exact same Zoom I do at Angel Health Space, and Dina and Allison and my sister have been there for years. So that's going to happen in the 2 weeks in between. You're welcome to come. Basically, I gather intention, lead you through an angel experience, and then we share at the end. And the point of that would be to practice having an intention, to practice receiving, and to practice articulating your experience. One of the things that we don't have a lot of examples of or spaces to do it in is to learn to articulate our spiritual experiences, which is super important, I think. So you're welcome to come to that. So we'll do that the next 2 Tuesdays, and then Melanie and I will be back with page 101. We'll see what happens there. Yeah, but thank you, Angels, for sharing that. Anybody else want to share anything? My soft-spoken friends. Yes.
This was beautiful. It's Allison. I'm not
Awesome.
soft-spoken. I was
Yes.
trying to let other people go. This was so wonderful. I'm so grateful you're doing a part 2. It's a different exposure to the book, and I love this because I've read the book and I was in my head intellectually the entire time. And this is just blown that away, and it's making me read it again in a new perspective. And it's just, thank you both. Thank you for collaborating. Thank you so much for all the work you put into it. I think all of us have been touched by this and are grateful you're not letting us off the hook yet.
There's no hook. Yeah, thank you, Allison.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
No, I
Thank you.
totally know what you mean, but I think also in re-exploring this book, I mean, it is like it's clinical, but just seeing where this is such a helpful book,
Yep.
it's just so helpful in terms of just context, like what's going on, you know, like why is that happening, and to trust that we're all included in this, in what he's articulating, and that the author really cares about people. And that's evident in his language and in his sharing. And it's just an important book, I think. What if everyone read that book?
Yeah, definitely.
What if, you know? Also, just coming back to the central intention of this, which is to shine a light on New Renaissance Bookshop, which is a locally owned independent bookstore in Portland, Oregon. And those who don't live in Portland can support the store by on their online shop. Melanie's going to send out your resource list. Yes.
Yeah, I'll resend out with the final recording of this last session here. I'll resend the resource list and a link to our website as well if you're interested. So.
Yeah, wonderful. And we'll include the Eckhart Tolle Power Now. And if you want to be on that list, Melanie, would they go to the registration link, or if people are not on that list?
The list for the next session?
Yeah.
I'll have to we'll probably get another ticket
another one. Yeah.
tailor up. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. I'm sure Claire will do that.
Hey,
Okay.
Mark.
Yeah.
Mark, do you have a website?
Yeah.
Do you have a website?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's my name, which is I never think about this.
Okay, I've got your name. I've got your name.
Promote yourself too.
I know.
Yeah.
I never think about it. It's my name, which is Mark Mezadourian.
Yeah.
And so it's markmezadourian.com. There's if anyone wants a private reading, there's a Calendly system there to book readings. I also have where the recordings for this are on YouTube. There's a ton of free things. I'm also on Insight Timer, and I'm active on Instagram also under my name on all those.
Wonderful.
Mark Mezadourian. Yeah. Happy to connect with folks. Yeah. Okay, everyone. Wonderful. Thanks for the prompt with that. Appreciate that. Okay. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing, and for participating, for your time, and just honoring your healing along the way. Appreciate all of your contributions and your presence. So thank you all so much. Once again, acknowledging Melanie for being a good person to do this with, and we'll keep going. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Melanie and Mark. Really wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dina. Thanks, Karen.
Okay, Mark, we'll talk to you on the
Thank you.
phone.
Okay,
You'll
sounds
wrap
good.
up with her. Yeah.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
See ya.
Good night.
Bye.